Is there anything more frustrating than junk volume, putting in endless sets and reps? Meanwhile, all of the stress on your body is accumulating. You're spending precious resources like time and energy, and all the while, the actual results that you're going after are becoming less and less and less. So you end up investing a lot more in and barely getting any more out. What's up, my friend? Welcome again to the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. I'm Matt Schifferly, helping you escape the diet and exercise rat race through a fundamental approach to fitness. And today we're looking at how do you avoid junk volume? Because if we go with any sort of arbitrary number like, oh, don't do more than so many sets or so many repetitions, you're basically basing things on just a guessing game on how much work you should do, which unfortunately is what most people do in their workouts. And we don't want to take this approach because sometimes, yes, doing a lot more work is definitely going to be in your favor. But other times, what would be good as a good amount of work and sets and reps may be more detrimental and actually have a lot of junk volume. We can't just put a line in the sand and say this amount of work is going to be junk and this amount is going to be good, because there's so many influences that are going to move that line on you on any given occasion. Plus, we also want to recognize it's not like there is a definitive border in how much work you do where you're doing sets and it's like that set was effective and that set was effective and that set was effective. And then the very next set is completely a waste of time and now you're killing your gains and all that sort of thing. It's not like that. Remember, there's no such thing as technically an ineffective set. Whatever you put in is always going to create a stimulus. Instead, what you want to be recognizing with junk volume is where are you putting in a lot of effort, where you're putting in an exponential amount of time and energy and work into things, but you're really not getting that much more out of it to make it worthwhile. Because as I address in my latest book, Be Fit, Live Free, I've got a whole chapter in here on motivation. And the reason why we lose motivation, which is the lifeblood of all of our potential in fitness, is we're putting in too much work and not getting enough out of it. The number one reason why people fail to get the results they want is because they're working too hard. And that's what junk volume is basically you're investing too much work and it's really not worthwhile, which kills your motivation, which has just basically a downward death spiral for whatever you're hoping to accomplish. If you want to check it out on PDF or in Amazon, the links are down below in the description. So the first step in avoiding junk volume is, again, not making the amount of work you do in your workouts the goal and the objective of your workouts itself. With a fundamental approach to fitness, we go into our workouts having a clear, definitive objective of what you want to accomplish. We're trying to create a stimulus with our exercise. And if you don't know what that objective is, you quite literally don't know what you're there to do. And when you don't know what the purpose is behind the work that you're putting in, then the work itself becomes the goal, and you're basically hoping that it's going to be effective through just blind luck. Objective number one is training for proficiency, skill, strength. We're basically trying to elevate our ability to do the exercise better in some way. Not just doing it the same way over and over and over, but elevating it in some way. And this could be done a million different ways. It could be trying to get a bigger range of motion or having more strength in the exercise or improving the speed, whatever it is. And for this objective, I always tell folks, do as much work as you possibly can get, as time and energy will allow. But once you find that your fatigue is building up and your proficiency is starting to dip down, you're done. Because you're probably not going to create more of a productive stimulus beyond that point. Once your technique starts breaking down, you're not having as much strength, you're not attacking your repetitions, then sure, you can always put in more work, but you're not going to be training your body to do anything better. And it's just even maybe going to produce a stimulus of doing things, shortcuts, shorter range of motion, less technique, because the goal again would be to do just work for work's sake. And now you're actually training yourself to be worse at the technique, which is very common with a lot of high volume approaches. We're just getting through the workout for the sake of doing the workout, not actually doing the thing better. Objective number 2 is testing your work capacity. And this is usually when we're trying to basically burn out the muscles or our ability to do things on an endurance and stamina standpoint. This is good for mental stamina. It's good for physical stamina. We're trying to improve our endurance, get more repetitions if we're trying to pass a PT test. And also to a large degree, hypertrophy. We're trying to essentially bring the muscle to a high state of fatigue to stimulate that very hypertrophy. And once again, this could happen anywhere from 1 or 2 sets to 5, 6, 7 sets, one exercise, several exercises, again, depending on many different circumstantial variables that are always changing around. So once again, saying this is how many sets you should do is just a shot in the dark guess about how much work you should be doing. Instead, same kind of thing applies. Do as many sets or use as many exercises as you see prudent and sufficient, but make sure you're not compromising your intensity. You want to work with a good amount of tension in the muscle. You want to attack your sets. You want to be utilizing things to a very high degree of fatigue, so really pushing close to failure. And once you find that your ability to produce a good amount of effort is starting to decline, then you're done. And keep in mind that these things are prone to fluctuations. Generally, you're probably going to reach those objectives in about 3-4 sets or so with an exercise. But if you have the time and the energy and you're just feeling like, man, I can just keep going, well, then by all means, keep going. But if you're finding yourself hitting that wall, your technique is floundering a little bit and you're already pretty cooked, then don't keep going, because sure, you can always do more work. And will it produce more of a stimulus? Potentially. But it's probably not going to be worth the extra effort and time that you're investing, so you're better off just cutting it there and starting your recovery. Because always remember, the point of your workouts is not to see how hard you can work, it's how well and effectively you can create that stimulus, and you should do as much work as necessary to make that happen, but not any more than that, because then it's just not going to be worth it. Check out my book, as always, for more information on a fundamental approach to fitness. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Be fit and live free.